I met Eve on a Tuesday that smelled like rain and regret. She was my photography client, a quiet, elegant woman in her mid-40s who wanted portraits that didn't look posed. When I first lifted the camera, she looked right into the lens like she was daring me to see her. And I did too much too fast. Her house felt like her, tidy, composed, but filled with small traces of hesitation. Half-read novels on the coffee table, an untouched cup of tea on the counter. I remember thinking how someone could live in a home that clean and still feel unfinished. She wore her wedding ring loosely, like a habit she hadn't broken yet. "Tell me where to stand," she'd said that first day. Her voice was steady, but her hands not. A tremor, small, almost invisible, as she brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. "Just be still," I told her, adjusting the light. "You don't need to pose." The camera clicked, once, twice, and she smiled faintly. It wasn't for me. It was for something she missed, maybe someone she used to be. A week later, she called again. "I don't like the photos," she said. "They look too honest." That was the beginning of everything. I came back to her house under the pretense of reshooting. The sky was heavy with clouds, and she wore a soft gray sweater that made her eyes look tired, beautiful, and distant all at once. "You said you wanted honesty," I teased. I didn't know honesty could be this loud. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was alive, like standing too close to a flame, knowing you shouldn't. Over the next few weeks, I kept finding reasons to stay longer, fixing her light settings, suggesting new backdrops, pretending I was there for the art. She started asking me questions that weren't about photography, about my classes, my dreams, my loneliness. Once she asked quietly, "Do you ever feel like you're watching your life from outside it?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Her husband traveled a lot. I only knew that because his suitcase was always half open in the hallway. Once, during a shoot, she caught me looking at it. "He knows," she said flatly. "We have an arrangement." The way she said it, like the words were heavier than the truth, made something inside me ache. It wasn't supposed to go further, but it did. A hand brushing against mine when she reached for the same book. A laugh that lasted too long. A look that lingered too much. Every boundary blurred slowly, like ink spreading on wet paper. By the time she finally let me touch her cheek, I knew we were already too far gone. She didn't pull away. She whispered, "You shouldn't be here." But her eyes said stay. I told myself it wasn't wrong, that she was free, that I was just someone she could talk to. But the truth was simpler. I was falling for someone I wasn't supposed to want. Then came the message. We were sitting in her kitchen, the late afternoon light spilling gold over her hands. Her phone buzzed once on the counter. She glanced at it, then froze. Her face changed, just slightly. "What is it?" I asked. She didn't answer, just turned the screen toward me. It was a group message. "Family dinner tonight. Bring him too." She looked up at me, eyes wide, color draining from her face. The room felt smaller, the clock louder, and all she said was, "Arman, they know." That night, I didn't go inside. I parked outside Nadia's house and watched the light flicker behind her curtains. I could see shadows moving, her pacing, her stopping, her pacing again. The dinner she'd been dreading was happening tomorrow. When she finally opened the door, her voice was smaller than I'd ever heard it. "You shouldn't be here," she said again. "I know," but neither of us moved. She invited me in any way. The kitchen smelled faintly of wine and rosemary, the kind of comfort that belonged to someone else's life. She looked exhausted, her hair tied up carelessly, her lipstick faded. "They know," she repeated, almost to herself. "My husband told his sister everything. About the arrangement." Her eyes flicked up to mine, cautious. "He thinks it makes him look modern. Open. He doesn't care what I do, as long as it looks like his idea." I didn't know what to say. Every part of me wanted to defend her, to fix something I didn't understand. Instead, I said, "You don't have to explain." But she wanted to, or maybe she just needed someone to hear it. "I used to love him," she said. "I really did. But over time, love turned into something quieter. obligation, habit. She gave a soft, bitter laugh. When he suggested we open the marriage, it wasn't freedom he gave me. It was proof he'd already left. Her voice broke slightly at the end, but she didn't look away. I told her about myself then, maybe to make her feel less exposed. How I'd been raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs. How I'd always chased older mentors, women who seemed to know what they wanted. She smiled sadly. You think that's what I am? Someone who knows what she wants? No, I said quietly. You're someone still trying to remember. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Something shifted between us, small, fragile, real. She sat down on the floor beside the couch, hugging her knees. I joined her, our shoulders nearly touching. The silence wasn't heavy this time, just full. You remind me of myself, she said after a while, before I learned to stop asking for too much. And you remind me, I said, that wanting isn't something to be ashamed of. She turned then, slow, deliberate, until our faces were inches apart. I could see every line time had etched around her mouth, every flicker of hesitation in her eyes. Her fingers brushed mine. Not an accident this time. The clock ticked softly behind us. Rain tapped against the window. You'll come tomorrow? She asked finally. To the dinner? She nodded. If I have to face them, I don't want to do it alone. I didn't answer with words. I just reached over, let my hand rest against hers. She didn't pull away. And in that quiet moment, I realized something terrifying and beautiful. This wasn't a game anymore. It was the next evening felt like walking toward a storm. Nadia hadn't texted all day. I told myself she was busy, preparing, pretending, surviving, but every hour stretched thin. By 6, I was already outside her house again, pulse pounding against the steering wheel. When she finally stepped out, she wasn't herself. Her lipstick was darker, her hair pinned perfectly, her face composed. The soft, uncertain woman I knew was gone, replaced by someone rehearsed. You look, I started, but she cut me off. Don't, she said. Not tonight. The drive to her brother-in-law's house was quiet, just the hum of the car and the wait between us. Every now and then, her fingers twitched like she wanted to reach for mine but didn't. Arman, she said suddenly. If they ask who you are, you're my student. I am your student, I said softly. She looked at me then, a glance too long to be casual. Not like that. The dinner started too bright. Too many smiles, too many questions. Her husband, Rafiq, greeted me like an old friend, his hand firm on my shoulder. He was older than I expected, late 50s, confident in a way that came from never being told no. So this is the photographer, he said, pouring me a drink. Nadia says you have an eye for honesty. His tone lingered on that word. Nadia froze beside me, the kind of stillness that hides panic. I tried to speak, but my throat locked. She took over, laughing softly. He's talented. You should see his portfolio. I'll watch her perform, calm, poised, perfect. But beneath the table, I could feel her leg trembling against mine. Halfway through dinner, Rafiq leaned close to me. She's complicated, isn't she? He said, voice low, smile steady. Too quiet for her own good. I told her she could have her freedom. I didn't realize she'd find it in my house. I looked up startled. He wasn't smiling anymore. Before I could answer, Nadia stood. I'll get dessert, she said quickly, escaping to the kitchen. Rafiq's eyes followed her, then landed back on me. Careful, kid. She collects broken things, then puts them back worse. When I found her in the kitchen, she was gripping the counter, eyes glassy. What did he say to you? I asked. Nothing I haven't heard before. Then why are you shaking? She laughed once, sharp, breathless, because I thought I could control this. But I can't. Her voice cracked, and before I could think, I reached out, cupping her face. She didn't pull away this time. Her breath caught, the faintest tremor. We shouldn't, she whispered. I know. And then the sound of footsteps, deliberate, approaching. We jumped apart just as Rafiq appeared in the doorway, eyes flicking between us, too calm. Dessert taking too long, he said. Nadia smiled, a brittle, perfect thing. Just plating it. But as he turned away, she leaned close, her lips barely moving. "They know, Arman," she breathed. "All of them. The beginning of the end, and neither of us wanted to stop it." After the dinner, everything moved in slow motion, like the world had lost sound but kept its weight. We didn't speak on the drive back. Nadia stared straight ahead, her reflection trembling in the windshield. I could still hear Rafik's voice echoing in my head, calm, deliberate, poisonous. When I pulled into her driveway, she didn't move. She just sat there, hands in her lap, the porch light washing her in pale gold. Finally, she whispered, "He knows." He's known for weeks. My throat tightened. Then why tonight? Because he wanted to watch me squirm, wanted to see if I'd lie to his face. She laughed softly, a sound that wasn't laughter. And I did. So perfectly. Inside, she poured herself a drink, her fingers shaking. "You should go," she said without looking at me. I didn't. Instead, I asked, "Was it ever real, Nadia? Or was I just part of your rebellion?" That made her turn, sharply. "Don't do that," she said. "Don't make this small. I'm not the one hiding." I shot back. "You think I wanted this?" Her voice rose, cracking under the weight. "You think I planned to fall for someone half my age? To risk everything because I liked the way you looked at me?" Her words hit like glass. "I can't stop," she said, softer now. "I've tried. I told myself you were just a phase, a mistake, a distraction from my marriage, but every time you walk away, I can't breathe right." She stepped closer, slow, deliberate. I wanted to tell her that she wasn't a mistake, that she was the only thing that felt real in months. But I couldn't, because part of me hated her for it, for pulling me into a world built on secrets, for making me feel like I'd stolen something that was never mine. "You told me you were free," I said quietly. She looked away. I wanted to be. The silence between us pulsed. I could feel the distance shrink, the air thickening. When she looked back up, her eyes were wet, but fierce. "You think it's easy? You think being wanted feels good when you know it's wrong?" Her voice trembled, but her body didn't move. I stepped closer, close enough to feel her breath on my skin. "You're not wrong," I said. "You're just scared." She laughed, a sound half sob, half surrender. "And you're too young to know what scared really means." Our eyes locked, neither of us breathing, neither of us ready to admit what was already happening. Her hand lifted, almost unconsciously, fingers tracing the air between us. I caught it, held it tight. Everything in the room stopped. The clock, the air, the noise in my head. Her lips parted. My hand moved toward her face. And then, a knock. 3 sharp, deliberate knocks at the door. She froze. Rafik's voice, calm and steady, from the other side. "Can I come in, Nadia?" For a heartbeat, neither of us moved. The knock hung in the air like thunder after lightning. Nadia's breath hitched. She whispered, "He never knocks." I let go of her hand instantly, stepping back. The air between us still burned. "Go to the study," she said quickly. "Now." I hesitated. "Nadia, please." Her voice cracked on that word, the kind of plea that left no room for argument. I slipped into the dark hallway, just as she opened the door. Through the crack, I saw Rafik step in. No anger, no shouting. Just calm, deliberate control. The kind that scared me more than rage ever could. He set his keys on the table. "You weren't answering," he said. "Thought I'd check if everything's all right." "Everything's fine," Nadia replied, too fast. He smiled faintly, scanning the room. "You've been drinking. Just 1 glass." He walked toward her slow. "You were shaking tonight. During dinner." I wasn't. He leaned close, brushing a strand of her hair back. "You forget, Nadia. I know when you're lying." I could see her flinch, a small, involuntary movement she probably didn't even feel. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. "I saw your phone." Her breath caught. "I know who he is." The silence that followed was deafening. Rafik turned his head slightly, eyes scanning toward the hallway, toward me. My pulse hammered in my throat. "He's young," he said. "Too young to understand what he's gotten into." "Stop," Nadia whispered. He's not the first, you know. You always pick the ones who look at you like you're still 25. You feed on it. Her voice broke. You don't get to do this. I do, he said evenly. Because you made it public. You think I didn't notice your sister recording dinner? It's already out there, Nadia. I froze. Recording? Rafik smiled, not cruel, just satisfied. Maybe next time you'll learn what honesty really looks like. Nadia's glass slipped from her hand, shattering against the floor. You told them, she whispered. I didn't have to. You told them with your eyes. He turned to leave, pausing at the door. You wanted freedom. Now everyone knows what you did with it. The door closed quietly behind him. For a long moment, Nadia didn't move. Her shoulders trembled once, then twice, and then she sank to the floor, glass crunching beneath her knees. I came out of hiding, every part of me shaking. Nadia, she looked up, eyes red but steady. You need to leave, she said softly. I'm not. Yes, you are. Her voice hardened. He'll ruin you next. That's how he wins. She stood, crossing the room, stopping inches from me. He's not wrong about me, Arman. I don't want to feel young again. Wanted to be seen. But I never lied about what this was. Tears welled in her eyes. Quiet, stubborn tears that refused to fall. I just didn't know it would cost this much. I reached for her, but she stepped back. I'll fix it, she whispered. I'll protect you. But you can't be here when it breaks. Her phone buzzed again. A new message. From Rafik. Just one line. Tomorrow. Family dinner. Everyone. The next night arrived like a sentence that couldn't be unsaid. Nadia hadn't answered my calls. Not one. Still, I drove to that house again, the one that had become our secret world, and now, our crime scene. The street was lined with cars. Family dinner. Again. Through the open windows I could hear them. Laughter, plates clinking, the same easy rhythm of people pretending nothing was wrong. But the air was charged. Waiting. I should have left. I didn't. I slipped through the back door, the one she always left unlocked. Inside, the air smelled of spice and candle wax and tension. Then I saw her. She was standing at the far end of the dining table, composed but pale. Everyone else, Rafik, his sister, her parents, all seated, waiting for the performance to end. When her eyes found mine across the room, the world stopped. Rafik turned. Ah, he said, voice smooth as silk. The student joins us. The table fell silent. Someone set down a fork. I opened my mouth, but Nadia beat me to it. Rafik, don't. He leaned back, smiling. Why not? You said we were done with pretending. Her voice trembled, but her words didn't. Then I'll say it. I'm done living like your mistake. The air snapped. Her mother gasped. Rafik's face didn't change, just his eyes. So it's true. It's true, she said, steady now. But not the way you think. I didn't fall out of love with you because of him. I fell out long before he came. Every word felt like a wound, and yet she didn't stop. She turned toward me. You shouldn't be here, Arman. Too late, I said quietly. I told you I'd protect you, she whispered. I don't need protecting. Rafik stood now. No? You think this woman will save you from the shame she built herself? Something inside me snapped. You don't get to talk about shame, I said, my voice shaking. You gave her permission to stop loving you, and then punished her when she did. Rafik's jaw tightened, but it wasn't anger in his eyes. It was something worse, pity. She'll leave you too, he said softly. That's what she does. Nadia flinched like the words were physical. The room blurred after that. Someone shouted. Someone cried. All I remember is Nadia's hand finding mine beneath the table. Cold, trembling, real. She squeezed once, then let go. I'll fix it, she said again, but not with him watching. And before I could stop her, she walked out. Past the table, past the stairs, past the life that had owned her for 20 years. I followed her outside. The night was cold, the air thick with everything we hadn't said. I don't care what they think, I said. I just want you. She turned, eyes shining under the porch light. That's the problem, she whispered. You still think this is about wanting. A long pause. Then she reached up, cupped my face, and kissed me. Slow, aching final. When she pulled away, her voice broke. Go live something that isn't a secret. And she walked into the dark without looking back. It's been 8 months since that night, since the dinner that burned everything down. Sometimes I still drive past her house. The curtains are always drawn now, the garden overgrown. Someone else parks in her driveway, a real estate agent's car, maybe. The life she had there is gone. I never saw her again after that night. No calls, no messages, just silence, the kind that settles into your bones. But I remember everything. The tremor in her hand when she poured wine. The way she used to say my name like it was both a warning and a prayer. The quiet defiance in her eyes when she finally told the truth. I used to think love meant having someone. Now I think it means letting them stop pretending. I left the city a month after she did. Started working in a small coastal town, teaching photography workshops to tourists who just want their sunsets sharper and their smiles wider. One morning, while setting up my camera by the water, I found a letter wedged into my bag. No name, no address. Just a folded page, written in familiar, careful handwriting. Arman, you once told me that honesty is loud. You were right, but so is silence. I've started over. I don't know where I belong yet, but for the first time in years, I'm not lying to anyone, not even myself. You were never a mistake. You were the truth that hurt enough to wake me up. If our paths cross again, I hope we both learn how to live without hiding. And I read it until the ink smudged under my thumb. Then I folded it back, carefully like something fragile. That night, I developed the last photo I ever took of her, the one from before everything broke. She wasn't posing. She wasn't smiling. She was just standing by the window, light cutting across her face, looking at something outside the frame. That photograph still sits on my desk. Every time I look at it, I see both of us suspended between what we wanted and what we couldn't keep. And yet, I don't regret any of it. Not the secrets, not the hurt, not the ending. Because for a moment, we were two people who saw each other, fully, painfully, beautifully. Sometimes the camera catches what life can't hold on to, the in-between of love and loss, truth and silence. Maybe that's all this story ever was, a picture that couldn't stay still. So, maybe she was right. Maybe honesty is loud, loud enough to echo long after it's gone. And somewhere out there, if she ever sees my name on a photograph again, I hope she knows I still see her in every frame I take. Did you enjoy the story? Would you like to hear more stories about forbidden love, second chances, or the kind of endings that never really end?